Welcome to the Church of Goddard. Can I get an amen? Amen. I will be reading from the book of Lenny Gray. Real quickly, this is a work of historical fiction that I did about my paternal grandparents that I never knew. I have a grandfather who was born in 1896, and my grandmother was born in 1900. And so, since I never knew them, I only heard like bits and pieces of stories about them. So I just kind of like did a little Ancestry.com little history check, and this is what I came up with. This is a historical piece of fiction, and the part that I'm going to read back to you is like the beginning of it. And it's set in the American South, Alabama, 1918. Lenny Gray, oh, by the way, Lenny Gray, for those of you who are not from the South, Lenny Gray, I'm using that as one name instead of two names. Lenny Gray tiptoed out of the bedroom, out the front door, and stood on the porch of her father's shanty. She heard someone coughing deeply and continuously through an open window of the shanty opposite her. The coughing subsided for a moment, then began its attack again. Lenny Gray stared at the open window and briefly wondered which member of the family next door had taken sick. She had more important things to worry about, so she pushed its concern out of her mind. Lenny Gray was 17 and had an overpowering urge to get as far away as she could from a life that only offered mediocrity, entrapment, and little respect for women. Stepping off the front porch, she cautiously took a look around and held her tattered suitcase to her chest that she had packed earlier and ran into the darkness, causing plumes of dust to cloak her ankles. She had no money. She didn't know where she was going, and only had a small ration of food she had squirreled away for her journey. As she raced towards her own unknown future, a scandalous story she had once heard about her mother, Janie Pearl, flooded her mind. Janie Pearl had taken on the persona of a white woman out of necessity and survival. She was able to pass easily since the women of her family were from New Orleans and had come from a long tradition of strikingly beautiful women who were kept by wealthy men from France. Janie Pearl came to Alabama in 1899 after being married to a Southerner named Charles Quinney, who was completely unaware of her African bloodline. Charles would leave Janie for long periods of time while he was away on business. It was during his extended absences that Janie had an affair with a black man and became pregnant. Janie Pearl had hoped and prayed that the baby belonged to her husband, and if not, she would try to pass it off as if it was his if the baby had a complexion that wasn't too offensive to Charles. When the person who was a little too tanned to pass for white slipped out from between her legs, Janie Pearl and the midwife, a former slave woman named Mary, knew that all hell would break loose. There would be attempts to find the man who had ruined her, and Janie Pearl knew that her privileged life would die quickly and violently once the truth was revealed. Lenny Gray recalled being told that Janie Pearl had a difficult time giving birth and died within the hour. Before Janie Pearl passed away, she made Mary promise to get the child to its father and to tell Charles Quinney that the baby was deformed and died. "Tell my husband I forced you to burn and bury the ugly thing," Janie Pearl said before she slipped away. Lenny Gray's father went on to marry another woman and had more children. Although it was never said outwardly, growing up, Lenny Gray knew that she was her father's favorite child, and her siblings resented her because of it and because of the way she looked. Lenny Gray recalled how, after church on Sundays, the people of Dixon Mills liked to stand on their porches and judge skin color, along with the length and grade of hair that a person had. They always had something in their mouths to say about Lenny Gray's wheat-colored skin that would turn red instead of golden brown under the sun. Men with worn-out backs, swollen fingers, and calloused hands would attempt to touch her raven hair, superstitiously believing that it held unexplainable power that would transform them into a more tolerable version of themselves. Women and girls didn't like it when she let it cascade down her back as if it were soft fur. Lenny Gray enjoyed the attention sometimes, especially when she wanted to flaunt her desirability. Other times, Lenny Gray loathed the attention, especially when it came from men old enough to be her grandfather. Sometimes, when she was alone, she would sit and brush her hair, and imagined what her mother must have felt like when she combed her hair. To Lenny Gray, her hair was her crown, and the only thing about herself that she felt good about. A thunderclap broke the silence and snapped Lenny Gray back to the present moment. She turned her legs faster, willing them to get her as far away as possible.